Today we're reviewing the Canson Montval Sketchbook. Sup friends, Liron here, and as I mentioned, today we're reviewing the Canson Montval Sketchbook. This is one of the best sketchbooks I ever used, and there's a reason I say this. I've been painting and sketching in this one for the past few weeks, and you saw the results. I'm really pleased with this, and I really want to give an in-depth review. Now, before moving on to the review, I will mention, because I forgot to mention, and I only mentioned this in the outro, okay? As any sketchbook, this has minor issues with how fast the paint dries, with glazing. So sometimes when you glaze, it may pick up some of the layer underneath it. However, it's an excellent sketchbook. It doesn't buckle almost at all. It's just really great. So what I'm gonna do now is rearrange the camera and really show you everything here in the cover, and we're gonna review it in depth, okay? I know sometimes I kind of I review stuff way too fast, so with this one I try to slow down and really look at everything and show you everything. Okay, so let's get started. So let's take a closer look at the sketchbook, shall we? Now, I didn't really read everything, so this is actually a great opportunity to read everything myself. So we're gonna zoom in a bit so you can actually read what's written here. So let's start top to bottom. So this is acid-free, which is great for watercolor, really important. Manufactured, blah, 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 in France. We've got this lovely painting. This is just an outer jacket kind of thing, done by Joe Fettingis. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's called Artist Series. Montval, I guess you don't pronounce the T, but who knows? Montval, watercolor, aquarelle. So this is 20 sheets, and it's funny because I'm really going through them and I don't even feel that it sounds like fewer than what I would imagine. So 5.5 inches on 8.5 inches, 300 grams. They say it's cold pressed, and many times you see cold pressed when it's not as cold pressed as I would think. I'll show you in just a moment. Heavyweight, performs beautifully with all wet media, so I guess gouache could work here as well. Although I'm not sure what exactly is considered wet media aside from watercolor and gouache. And yep, here do we have something interesting about, let me show you, there's this about the artist section. You can pause the video if you want to read everything. So this is just, feel free to pause it, and also pause it here if you want to read more about the artist. Let's see if there's something interesting on the other side. Is just a cardboard, I guess, like this. Okay, so let's zoom out a bit and I'll show you everything. Okay, so as I mentioned, the back side is just this cardboard. So what I'm gonna do, I think now, is open in a random page so that there's no artwork there, and you can see this. The papers are kind of micro perforated, so you can tear them out easily if you wish to do so. Now I want to give you a chance to see the texture. Now the texture is a little different. It seems like these were meant to be painted on this side, okay? Because here you can better see, and I'll show you in just a moment, and you can also better see the perforation. And this side was maybe just meant as a backside. I use both, so I don't really care about that. Let me show you up close what the paper texture looks like. I don't think you can really see this, which is a bit... Oh, there we go. There we got it. So sometimes it takes a while to figure out the angle. So here you can see the texture, and you can really clearly see the perforation. Now if I look on the other side, you'll also see the texture, but the perforation is sort of dented instead of... it's a bit hard to explain. It's not dented, it's beveled outside, and on this side it's really dented, okay? But hopefully this gives you an idea of the texture. Now, I know it looks to be pretty much textured, but as I'll go over some of the artwork that I have here that I already finished, you will see how it's not that serious of a texture, which could be an advantage, of course. So let's just go over some of my artwork here. So this is the first one, and I shared with you. Oh, by the way, before we do that, there is also this explanation on Canson. Let me zoom in a bit. So if you want to read this, then you have the explanation here. Feel free to pause the video. Hopefully you watch this on a larger screen and it's easier to read. One more interesting thing here, sorry. So this is it, and you have it in French as well. So if you're French speaking, and I do know I have quite a few French speaking people in my audience, then feel free to. And here's an interesting part as well. There's this table showing the different types of paper and what they work best with. Okay, so you can also pause the video and take a look at this. The Montval is here, right here, okay? And it just shows all of the media that it's most suited to. Okay, and I'm sure you can find all of this information online as well. So now let's look at the artwork. So this is the first painting I did here on this sketchbook ever. So it's really the first one. Let me zoom in a bit. So it's really the first one that I did here, and I did it when I was visiting friends. I was really not that focused. We were just waiting for another friend, and I had my sketching tools with me, so I just decided to do it based on a reference, and I think I really did a good job with it, and you can already see the quality of the paper is really good. This is on the correct side of the paper, so the texture should show a little more. You should better see the perforation. So there is a tiny bit of texture, not a lot, and you'll see this in a later example. So before we look at that, I actually want us to look at this. Another painting I shared with you. Let me zoom out just a little bit. So I did this one with a very lemony yellow. I think it was the Hansa yellow light, but I'm still very pleased with the result. And you can see here, I don't think I showed this really on YouTube. You can see some dry brush here, leaving some of the paper's texture. This was a really fun painting to work on, actually. So next up, we have this kind of a the paint show, the Parallel Red episode. Now I don't want this to turn into a sketchbook tour, so I'm just going to show you some of the highlights. I did show you, I think you saw this painting because I just loved it, so I had to share. When I finished this, I just completely, finally fell in love with this sketchbook completely. What else? There's this one, you probably also saw, and this painting here as well. There's the hand here that I shared on Instagram, and also this painting of the house. I'm really pleased with the uniqueness of this one. Let me see if I can find something that actually shows some of the textures. So here, I also showed you this one. I received quite a lot of critique on this one about the way I approach the foliage and things like this. Well, also you have to remember that this is a sketchbook and I'm working rather small here, so I didn't really put a lot of effort in the foliage. Sometimes I tend to be impatient and I don't devote enough attention, but here I was really focused actually on the painting process. I just didn't really have a lot of space to play around with it, and I just wanted to not to compete too much, so I kind of threw it in here, but definitely I could have approached this a little better. The values, by the way, compared to the original pick are really similar, just so you know. And here you can see some dry brush from the episode of the Hansa Yellow Medium. Let me show you up close, and you can see some of the paper's texture, hopefully here. Okay. Let's look at some others. This one, of course, you recognize from last week's video and also the paint show episode. We've got this quick one. I did a larger version of this one that you probably saw on Instagram. And finally, I did this one on location. Let me zoom out a bit. So this is the most recent one, was done on location, as I mentioned. I have to say that this sketchbook is really nice. I love this one. By the way, I have this one as well. I did of the episode of the paint show on Alizarin Crimson, the SAA. In any case, this sketchbook is honestly one of the best I used so far. For me, it beats the XL, but I use the XL sketchbook not for watercolor, so you can't judge them on the same. It's like comparing apples and oranges, but in terms of, let's say, Moleskine, this one is so much better, and if you have a chance to pick it up, I definitely recommend it. It's not that expensive too. Moleskine is much more expensive, so I highly recommend it. The 5.5 on 8.5 inches size is great. I really enjoyed it. With the shipping, it cost me even cheaper than if I were to go to a store in Tel Aviv here in Israel and buy it with no, shipment. This one was still cheaper. So I really recommend it. I didn't expect too much. I literally stumbled across it on Amazon, and I just decided to give it a try because it had so many great reviews, and to my surprise, it really set the bar high for me now for sketchbooks, and I think it will be hard to go back to working in a moleskin. The only advantage I will say of a moleskin is that it just closes more nicely. You see here, this one has this spiral bound area, and all of the pages just are kind of like that. And with the moleskin, you have the hardcover, you have this rubber band, but come on, the quality of the paper is the most important. So I really recommend you give this one a shot, you give this one a try. Let's wrap up this video. So this is it. Now, before I wrap up this video, I just want to mention, because there are a few things I forgot, okay? So in terms of glazing, I find that sometimes it's a little hard to glaze here, because what would happen is that the second wash will pick up some of the first wash. It's not that significant, it's not that bad, it's still a really great sketchbook, so just wanted to mention this. I don't remember if there was another thing, another downside, but this is the main thing I wanted to mention. So sometimes you will find that some kind of a wash picks up the previous one. You just have to be a little careful, but you can glaze, okay? It doesn't buckle almost at all. This is another thing I wanted to tell you, which is amazing. You saw it's minimal buckling. The moleskin, if I remember correctly, buckled much more than this one, and I don't tape around it. I just paint as it is. I just use some bulldog clips like this one to clip it and paint, and it just works beautifully. One more thing that I wanted to mention, as with a lot of sketchbooks and with papers that are a little smoother, sometimes the paint takes a little while to dry. Okay, that's natural. It can happen with so many sketchbooks. I still haven't encountered even one that doesn't have that happen to it, unless of course you take your own paper and cut it and turn it into a sketchbook. Okay, so sketchbooks are not perfect, but this one is really the closest I personally found to perfect, okay? So I think I don't remember if I have the link. I will put a link in the description box below to purchase it on Amazon. It's gonna be an affiliate link. This means that you pay the exact same price, but I get some kind of a commission for referring you there. So I would really appreciate if you consider getting this one, that you use my link. And this is it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your continuous support on this channel. It means a lot to me, and this is where I'm the most active right now on YouTube. It takes up so much of my workday, and I really am enjoying devoting a lot of attention here and a lot of just hard work. I plan on soon increasing the frequency of the videos. In my vision, I'm doing a video every day showing you everything that I do, and including tutorials and high quality lessons and things like this. Okay, so if you want to support me in my mission, definitely check out my Patreon page. I will put a link in the description box below. Okay, this is really important. It's the best way you can support me. You can do that for like $1 or $5, and depending on how much you put, you get specific perks. So you get more personal updates and video sneak peeks and me self-critiquing high quality pictures of my paintings. So if you want to just get, I guess, closer to me and have the ability to see things that I don't share in other places, or know things before others, definitely check it out. I will put a link in the description box below. Thank you so much once again. Even if you haven't like bought anything or bought a course or support me on Patreon, just the support here on YouTube means a lot to me, and it's really something that I'm so happy about, and I'm so happy that I just decided to go really hard on YouTube. So anyway, this is it. Thank you so much. I'm starting to ramble. I will see you again in another vid real soon.